The most painful prison deaths ever. I know this is going to be like a drawing video, but I kind of feel like this could almost be borderline TOS. If we're talking about the most painful prison deaths of all time, they're probably horrific.
Teeth. You get booked into prison, and the air feels heavier the second that steel door slams shut behind you. The cuffs come off, but all eyes are still on you. You look left to right, only to see inmates sizing you up like wolves around a wounded deer. The first week you're in there, you're purely fresh meat. From getting shoved in chow lines to getting tripped in the showers, you quickly find out that in prison showing weakness is an invitation to getting beat up. So you stop. You start doing push-ups until your chest is on fire and burpees until your vision blurs. Anything heavy that you can get your hands on, you quickly start lifting. As usual, the fights keep on coming. But
the biggest problem in prison, though, is people work out all the time, but they can't get obscenely jacked because they don't get given that much food. Obviously, it depends on the area of the jail or the prison that you're in, but if you're getting like 3,000 calories a day, you're getting less than 3,000 calories a day probably. But even if you're getting 3,000 calories a day, if you're working out all the time, you're only going to hover at like a reasonable weight because you're never going to be able to gain muscle.
Once, you finally win. A few months later, people know your name. Inmates begin nodding at you in the yard. Gangs start sending some of their guys to your cell not to beat you up, but to rather invite you to their group. As usual, you stay solo, but the respect, that's yours now. You've earned it, and everybody recognizes it.
I don't know. I feel, I'm not saying I'm an expert on this, but I kind of feel like the way he's describing prison is like you're a level 1 crook that has to level up through push-ups and calisthenics. Like, I don't think you working out alone would get every gang in the prison to be like, we want you to be a part of our team. Like, this is like you're a sales rep for fucking Honda, right? Like, they're inviting you to join like the Aryan race, right? They're not, this is not them inviting you and being like, hey, we really like your work ethic. I've seen you put in a lot of work in the push-ups. I've been watching you from across the cell. I've noticed that you've done what is it, 150 sit-ups a day? Good on you, man. Fist bump.
It wasn't easy, but you've finally climbed the ranks of approval inside of the prison. One night, you come back to your cell and you can't help but to feel that something's off. You look inside, only to find a scrawny newcomer sprawled out on the top of the bed. Your bed. You've been locked up long enough to know that what this man is doing is one of the biggest signs of disrespect in the prison, but the man seems ignorant to the culture. He's half asleep with his head on your pillow, like he owns the place.
Hey, wake up.
Huh? Can't you see that I'm trying to catch some sleep?
Get the off my bed.
Man, it's too early for this. Just buzz off.
Everyone's watching. This is the biggest disrespect you've received in months, and you become enraged to a point where you finally decide enough's enough. You grab the scrawny man and rip him off your bunk bed, slamming him down to the floor in an instant. Without wasting a second, you begin swinging at him like it's no man's business. Inmates rush out from their cells and form a crowd between the two of you, excited to see the fight take place. Your fists connect over and over, and cheers erupt around you from all types of prisoners. You lock him in a tight headlock, with your muscles bulging. He's flared.
See, I'm not doubting this is a real incident that occurred, but I feel like the whole crowding around you, screaming like it's a World Star fight, wouldn't a lot of prison fights just kind of be ignored and you're letting them like settle it like themselves? Like you wouldn't, why are you getting, because then you're getting involved and now you're a part of it. Now whoever you're with is also a part of it. And then it becomes a whole thing versus you just being like, that guy's beating the shit out of that dude. I'm not even going to look.
Flailing aimlessly, with snot and tears dripping from his eyes and nose. Gang leaders begin placing bets on who'll win the fight for fun, but it's obvious. You're winning easily. And then, it happens. A pain so sharp and blinding that it doesn't feel real. You really don't want to look, but you look anyways in pure disbelief.
What, did he bite his dick off?
It wasn't just a gut feeling, your brain was right. The dude is literally biting your nose. You scream like a banshee. It's a sound you can't even recognize coming from yourself. But right now, you don't care. You begin to claw, punch, and bash on him. Unfortunately, however, you only find that the more you hit him, the harder the bite becomes. When you start to feel tissue rip, your punches turn into desperate pleas for him to stop. He doesn't listen. The crowd isn't cheering anymore, and even the veterans look sick. You begin begging for the guards to intervene, but by the time they rush in and rip him off you, it's too late. You're found convulsing on the floor, unresponsive, with life-threatening injuries.
Oh my god, what a pivot. Oh my god, what a pivot. Oh my god, he died from that?
Medical staff does their absolute best to save you.
I feel like I would start fucking putting my fingers in his eyes. Yeah, Sketty. I'm agreeing. I feel like if you're in a fight and somebody starts biting your nutsack off, first thing you're doing is like, I'm pressing my fingers into their eye sockets.
You're broken in a way that can't be undone. This incident took place in Ghana during 2021. Both individuals got into an altercation that led to this shamelessly terrifying.
How remand prisoner for Ghana bit off testicles of another inmate.
The suspect that committed the crime was taken to court again, where he'd received judgment for his attack. Always remember to protect your jewels. The freezer incident. On January 12th, a 33-year-old man would be taken to the Walker County Jail, confused, malnourished, and sick. His cousin had called for help, hoping that the police would bring an ambulance and give him medical assistance. However, the sheriff's deputies arrived to the scene first, and they reported that the man brandished a weapon and let off a round towards the officers before running into a forest. When they finally apprehended him, he was seen to be malnourished and in a state of total delirium, with his only comments being incoherent babbles about portals in hell. Instead of taking the man to the hospital, the officers would lock him in a cold booking cell and remove his clothes for whatever reason. From the moment the door clanged shut, the cold began eating at him. It seeped into his bones, turned his skin to goose flesh, and made his teeth chatter until his jaw ached. Each breath fogged in the...
Bro, don't tell me his skin gets, like, stuck to the fucking metal bed frame and it, like, rips his skin off.
Yeah, like it was Christmas night, and the man began shivering so violently that it hurt. An officer would state that this treatment was fitting, since the man fired a weapon at the officers. Some other jailers even said that the cops should have just fired at him, instead of bringing him back to the jail alive. Days passed without food, warmth, or medical treatment for his mental state, until one day he was finally taken out of the cell. However, it would be for anything but a good reason. Despite being in a freezing cold cell with temperatures that dropped below 30 degrees for nearly a week, officers
Oh my god, so he was, like, living outside.
still thought that these conditions were too
Naked.
comfortable for him. To the man's complete horror, they wanted to lock him in the jail's kitchen freezer. They would rip him out of his cell and tase him so violently that he'd lose his dentures in the process. With his wrists and ankles shackled, they
Wait, the police did this to someone.
would throw the man in a metal
When?
restraint chair, tie him
I feel like we would have heard of this.
down, and leave him in the freezer. The air inside was biting. Any ounce of heat his body may have maintained before was sapped instantly. His body burned with fever, then chilled again, as if it couldn't decide whether to fight or surrender. The hum of the refrigeration unit filled the silence. His fingers stiffened, his lips turned blue, and the man froze with every second in that chair, feeling like hours. When they moved him back to the holding cell, the floor was littered with trash. He lay there motionless, ribs showing, breath shallow. A nurse appeared briefly, stood at the doorway, then turned off the light and left him in darkness. Guards passed his cell, some stopping to look, others just walking by. Not one brought him clothes.
No, not one person was like, this guy's gonna die.
After enduring 2 weeks of pure horror, the officers took him to a hospital. A human's normal body temp is supposed to be about 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit.
What's his, like, 85?
But when they brought him in, he was only breathing 2 breaths per minute with a pulse that was nearly non-existent, and his body temperature shockingly read 72 degrees Fahrenheit.
72 when he was alive?
Doctors tried to warm him up and did their absolute best to push his body back from the edge, but, sadly enough, it was too late. In the official report, officers would lie and say that he was completely fine when he left the jail, and that hypothermia is what caused this outcome. But in
What? They're saying hypothermia. How do you argue he was fine when he left the jail? We brought him from the jail to the hospital in an air-conditioned car in a air-conditioned cell. Like, or just a cell that they could have controlled. Like, they could have given him. How do they argue that his body temperature just dropped on the walk from the car to the hospital? It's really cold outside.
truth, they froze him alive. Thankfully, 10 jail staff members would all be tried and charged in relation to this incident. Let's situate
Where is this? Walker County. Where's Walker County? I'm going to guess, like, middle of the U.S. Oh, there's multiple Walker counties. Walker County, Alabama, Georgia, or Texas.
Let
Oh, it
situations
said Alabama. Birmingham, Alabama.
staff members would all be tried and charged in relation to this incident. Let situations like these encourage you to know the law and your rights as a civilian well. And also, let it serve as a reminder for people like you and I to refuse to look the other way whenever those in power treat humans with cruelty. Napalm. First, you do enough favors from other prisoners for them to buy you some peanut butter from the commissary. Then you eat up the peanut butter and lick the jar clean and keep it concealed. After that, you steal some sugar from the jail's kitchen and strong cleaning materials like bleach or ammonia. Once you've got all your materials, head back to the kitchen and bribe the prisoner working kitchen duty to have access to stove and pots inside. Then, quickly cook yourself some boiling hot water and slowly pour it into your peanut butter jar so that it doesn't melt and warp the container. Finally, sneak the boiling hot water back to your cell and mix the rest of your ingredients inside of it. And when
Does this make a drug or, like, a napalm? Like a gas?
you see your enemy sitting down to eat his lunch,
Bro's making acid. Oh, my God, and you throw it on them?
attack. This concoction is called prison napalm, and it's one of the most
What is it? It's bleach, boiling water, and sugar?
dangerous yet common weapons used within US prisons. This horrific mixture splashes onto you.
I've heard of it with bottles where they poke it, not like a jar. I've heard of it where they've had a water, like a squeeze bottle, and they poke a hole in it and do that. And so they'll spray at you from long range, so if somebody ever walks out with it, everybody runs.
And sticks to your skin while burning the living hell out of your body. It's difficult to get off, and it keeps on burning you long after the attack is over because of its stickiness. Hence why it's called prison napalm.
A Glock Dookie? Oh, is that what that is? What is that? Oh, no, it doesn't have the acid in it. I'm mixing up two things. That's acid. A Glock Dookie is when you take a bunch of, like, piss, shit, cum, dirt, rotting food, and then you shake it in a bottle and you spray it on someone. So you just make, like, a biohazard.
In August 2013, a 24-year-old man would be sentenced to 20 years of prison for mistakenly targeting an innocent young girl in an act of violence that would tragically be the cause of her passing. With the community absolutely enraged about this, people outside of the prison would put a $13,000 bounty on his head for the prisoners to deal away with him. After a series of unsuccessful attacks, the man would be placed in a protection cell with 2 other inmates. But horrifically enough, at around 11 p.m., the man would prepare to go to bed when one of the inmates in the cell quickly pinned him down to the floor, while the other magically revealed a steaming hot concoction of, yep, you guessed it, prison napalm. What makes this
Do they pour it in his mouth?
case terrifying is that the men didn't just throw and splash the napalm on him, like how it's normally supposed to be used. They began slowly pouring the boiling hot liquid down his throat, causing severe injury to the man's internals. Afterwards, they poured the rest of it on his face, eyes, lips, and ears. Officers would quickly intervene, but upon glimpse of the man, they would report that he bared a horrifyingly similar resemblance to a real-life zombie. So, with that being said, stay in school, follow your passions, and please for the love of...
What the fuck? But why would those guys do that for, like, $12K or whatever if now they would then get sentenced for murder in jail? Like, whatever their sentence is just going to be way longer.
all that's good, don't end up in jail. Have a happy day.
Yeah, what the fuck, dude? That is terrible. I wish this dude had more videos. Yeah, he makes good ones. All right.